Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Daily English Lab podcast. Here's something that frustrates advanced English learners more than anything else. You can read complex articles, you can write professional emails, you understand grammar deeply, but when you watch an American movie without subtitles or attend a fast-paced conversation, you're completely lost. Why? Because listening at the C1 advanced level requires completely different skills than what got you to B2. The gap between upper intermediate and advanced listening is massive, and most learners don't know how to bridge it. They just keep doing the same listening practice that stopped working months ago. I'm about to show you why your current listening practice isn't working and the 5 specific strategies that will finally push you from struggling with native speed conversation to actually understanding it naturally and effortlessly. In the next 25 minutes, you'll discover exactly how to train your ears for C1 level listening, the skills that separate advanced learners from intermediate ones, and the practice methods that actually work. Ready to finally understand fast, natural English? Let's unlock advanced listening together. Hey everyone, welcome back once again to the Daily English Lab podcast. I'm your English coach, and today we're tackling one of the most frustrating challenges for advanced learners: why your listening skills seem stuck even though everything else is improving. So let me tell you why this matters so much. Many learners reach B2 level, upper intermediate, and they can understand slow, clear speech. They can follow educational content or news broadcasts, but then they try to watch a Netflix show without subtitles, or they attend a business meeting with native speakers talking at normal speed, and suddenly they understand maybe 50%. It's demoralizing. Here's what's happening. C1 listening is not just B2 but faster. It requires fundamentally different skills. At C1, you need to understand connected speech, where words blur together. You need to catch implied meanings and cultural references. You need to follow multiple speakers talking over each other. You need to understand various accents and speaking styles. These are advanced skills that require advanced practice strategies. Today, I'm going to teach you 5 specific strategies that advanced learners use to develop C1 level listening comprehension. First, how to train your brain to process connected speech and reductions. Second, how to develop predictive listening skills. Third, how to build accent flexibility and variation tolerance. Fourth, how to understand implicit meaning and inference. And fifth, how to practice strategically instead of just passively consuming content. This is 25 minutes that will transform how you approach listening practice and finally break through that frustrating plateau. Before we start, tell me in the comments, what's your current listening level? And what's your biggest listening challenge? Native speed, different accents, understanding jokes? Let me know. And if you're ready to finally reach C1 listening comprehension, hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. I create advanced learning strategies specifically for learners who are serious about reaching fluency. All right, let's master C1 listening together. The first crucial strategy for C1 listening is training your brain to process connected speech and phonetic reductions. This is why native speakers seem to talk so fast. They're not actually speaking faster, they're connecting words and reducing sounds in ways that B2 learners aren't trained to hear. At B2, you learn to understand words pronounced clearly and separately. At C1, you need to understand words that are smashed together, reduced, and transformed by their context. Want to becomes wanna. Going to becomes gonna. Did you becomes didya. If your brain is still listening for separate, clear words, you'll be perpetually confused by natural speech. The biggest mistake advanced learners make is thinking they need to speak faster to understand faster speech. Wrong. The problem isn't speed. The problem is that you're listening for words that don't exist in native speech. You're waiting to hear going to when native speakers are saying gonna. Your brain is searching for phantom pronunciations. Let me show you what connected speech actually sounds like versus what B2 learners expect to hear. Example 1, basic sentence. What do you expect to hear? What are you going to do this weekend? What natives actually say is, what you gonna do this weekend? The sounds blur together. What are you becomes whatcha. Going to becomes gonna. Example 2, question. Expected, did you eat yet? Actual, did you eat yet? Or even jeet yet. 3 words can become one sound. Example 3, common phrase. I do not know what to tell you. Actual, I dunno what to tell you. Do not know becomes dunno. You becomes ya. Example 4, past tense. I should have called you. Actual, I should have called you. Should have becomes shoulda. Now here's the C1 strategy. You need to actively learn these reduction patterns, not just passively hope you'll understand them eventually. Create a list of common reductions. Practice saying them yourself. Train your ear specifically for these patterns. Key reduction patterns to master. Want to, wanna. Going to, gonna. Got to, gotta. Have to, have to. Did you, did ya. Would you, would ya. Don't know, dunno. Let me, lemme. Gimme, gimme. Kind of, kinda. Out of, outa. A lot of, a lotta. Right now, I want you to practice saying these reductions out loud. Don't just listen to me. Actually say them. I'm gonna go to the store. Did you eat yet? I don't know what to do. Your mouth needs to feel these reductions so your ear can recognize them. Do this for 30 seconds right now. Go ahead. Here's your strategy. Watch content with subtitles once, noting every time the subtitles show full words but the speaker says reductions. Create a personal reduction dictionary. Every time you encounter a new reduction pattern, write it down. Soon you'll recognize hundreds of patterns automatically. I had a German student named Klaus who was C1 in reading and writing but struggled with listening. He complained that Americans mumbled and didn't speak clearly. The problem wasn't the Americans, it was that Klaus was listening for textbook English. We spent 2 weeks just on reductions. He watched TV shows, paused every time he heard a reduction, and noted it. After drilling these patterns, he suddenly could understand 80% of natural conversation. The mumbling disappeared because he was finally listening for the right sounds. Quick question, did you know about these reduction patterns before this video, or is this new information? Let me know in the comments how many of these reductions you already recognized. Connected speech is the first barrier, but there's a second skill that separates C1 listeners from B2, and this is where things get really interesting. The second crucial C1 strategy is developing predictive listening. This means your brain anticipates what's coming next based on context, patterns, and probability, rather than processing every single word after hearing it. B2 listeners process words sequentially. Hear word, understand word, move to next word. This creates a delay. By the time you've processed word 5, the speaker's on word 10. You're always behind. C1 listeners predict what's coming, which allows them to keep up with native speed and even understand unclear words through context. The mistake is trying to understand every single word. C1 listening is not about catching every word. It's about understanding the message even when you miss words. Native speakers miss words all the time, but use prediction to fill gaps. Advanced learners who insist on hearing every word will always struggle with natural speed. Let me show you how predictive listening works in practice. Example 1, sentence completion. You hear, I'm so tired today. I stayed up until 3 in the morning working on, your brain predicts, a project or homework or a report. Even if you miss the exact word, you know it's work-related from context. Example 2, common collocations. You hear, the weather today is absolutely, your brain predicts, beautiful, or terrible, or awful. Limited options based on the pattern. Example 3. Story context. Someone is telling a story. So I was driving to work and suddenly this car came out of nowhere and your brain predicts hit me or cut me off or almost crashed into me. The story context narrows possibilities. Example 4. Professional context. In a business meeting, we need to increase our market share by focusing on, your brain predicts, customer satisfaction, or new markets, or product quality. Professional vocabulary and context guide prediction. How to develop predictive listening. Strategy 1. Practice shadowing. Listen to content and try to speak along with it simultaneously. This forces your brain to predict what's coming. Strategy 2. Before watching content, predict what vocabulary and topics might appear based on the title or context. Strategy 3. When you miss a word, don't rewind immediately. Try to understand from context first. Only check if you absolutely can't figure it out. Strategy 4. Study collocations and common phrase patterns. Your brain uses these to predict. Strategy 5. Increase background knowledge. The more you know about a topic, the easier it is to predict vocabulary and concepts. Let's practice prediction right now. I'll start a sentence, and you predict how it might end. Say your predictions out loud. I tried calling you yesterday, but... Predictions. You didn't answer. Or your phone was off. Or I couldn't get through. The movie was supposed to be great, but honestly, predictions, I was disappointed. Or it was boring. Or I didn't like it. See? Your brain can predict based on patterns. Train this skill consciously. Think of predictive listening like driving. Good drivers don't just react to what's directly in front of them. They scan ahead, anticipate what might happen, and prepare. Similarly, good listeners don't just process the current word, they anticipate the next phrase based on patterns and context. Look ahead, not just at the present moment. My Japanese student, Yuki, was stuck at B2 listening for months. She insisted on understanding every single word perfectly. If she missed one word, she'd stop and replay it 5 times. This made listening practice exhausting and slow. I taught her predictive strategies. First time, she was uncomfortable letting words pass without full understanding. But after practicing with the "don't rewind immediately" rule, something shifted. She realized she could understand the overall message even when missing individual words. Her listening comprehension jumped dramatically because she stopped trying to catch every tree and started seeing the forest. Prediction question. Do you currently try to understand every single word when listening, or are you comfortable with understanding the general message? Let me know in the comments what your current approach is. Predictive listening accelerates your comprehension. But there's a third critical skill for C1 level: handling accent variation and different speaking styles. That's what we're covering next. The third essential strategy for C1 is developing accent flexibility. At B2, you can understand your teacher's accent or one type of English. At C1, you need to understand British, American, Australian, Irish, Scottish, Indian, South African, and non-native accents because real-world English is diverse. If you only train with one accent, you'll struggle in real international environments. Business meetings include people from multiple countries. Movies feature various regional accents. Travel exposes you to local varieties. C1 competence means understanding English regardless of who's speaking it. The mistake is only practicing with standard accents, like Standard American or Received Pronunciation British English. These accents represent a tiny fraction of actual English speakers. Another mistake is getting frustrated with accents instead of treating them as learning opportunities.
Let me show you how different accents change the same sentence. Example 1. I'm going to the store. American general, clear R sounds, going to might become gonna. British, RP, softer R, more clipped consonants, going to stays fairly clear. Scottish, rolled Rs, going to might sound very different. Australian, rising intonation at the end, vowel shifts. Indian, different rhythm pattern, retroflex sounds. Example 2, can't versus can. American, can't, has a clear T sound. Can is often reduced to kun. British, can't, has an ah sound like can't, very distinct from can. Australian, similar to British but with different vowel quality. These differences can cause total comprehension breakdown if you're not trained for them. Example 3, regional vocabulary. British, I'm going to the chemist to get plasters. American, I'm going to the pharmacy to get Band-Aids. Same meaning, different words. Example 4, pronunciation variations. The word water. American often sounds like water or waiter. British, clear T, wata. Australian, different vowel, somewhat between American and British. How to build accent flexibility. Strategy 1. Deliberately expose yourself to multiple accents every week. Don't just stick with American or British. Strategy 2. Watch content from different English-speaking countries. British crime dramas, Australian comedy, Irish films, Indian news. Strategy 3. Listen to international English speakers, people who speak English as a second language with their own accents. Strategy 4. Use podcasts and YouTube channels from different regions. Strategy 5. Focus on understanding the message, not on how weird the accent sounds. Approach with curiosity, not judgment. Right now, think about which accents you're most comfortable with and which ones you avoid. Make a commitment. This week, watch at least 2 videos or episodes in an accent you usually avoid. If you always watch American content, try British. If you always watch British, try Australian or Indian. Deliberately challenge yourself. Think of accents like different fonts. The same word written in Arial, Times New Roman, or Comic Sans is still the same word. Similarly, water, spoken in American, British, or Australian accent, is still water. The underlying word doesn't change. Train your brain to recognize the word regardless of the font it's spoken in. My Brazilian student, Carolina, could understand American English perfectly, but panicked when encountering British English. She was preparing for a job that required collaboration with the UK office. We systematically exposed her to British content, BBC programs, British podcasts, British YouTubers. The first week was tough. She understood maybe 60%, but by week 4, her brain had adapted. She could switch between American and British English effortlessly. The key was consistent, deliberate exposure. Your brain is incredibly adaptable if you challenge it systematically. Accent question. Which English accent is hardest for you to understand? American, British, Australian, Scottish, Indian? Let me know in the comments and I'll recommend specific resources for that accent. Accent flexibility opens up the entire English-speaking world. But there's a fourth skill that's crucial for C1 comprehension: understanding implicit meaning and inference, sarcasm and subtext. At B2, you understand the literal words. At C1, you understand what people really mean, even when they don't say it directly. Native speakers constantly communicate indirectly. We use sarcasm, understatement, implication, and cultural references. If you only understand literal meaning, you'll miss at least 30% of actual communication. You'll miss jokes, miss tensions, and misinterpret intentions. The mistake is taking everything at face value. English speakers, especially in American and British culture, often say the opposite of what they mean for humor or politeness. If you don't recognize these patterns, you'll completely misunderstand conversations. Let me show you how implicit meaning works and how to recognize it. Example 1, sarcasm. Literal words, oh great, another meeting, just what I needed. Literal interpretation, they're happy about the meeting. Actual meaning, they're frustrated and being sarcastic. Clues, tone of voice, context, meetings are often disliked. The phrase, just what I needed, is a sarcasm marker. Example 2, polite refusal. Literal words, that sounds interesting, but I'm pretty busy right now. Literal interpretation, they're interested but busy. Actual meaning, they're not interested and are politely declining. Clues, sounds interesting is lukewarm, but negates the first part. This is a soft no. Example 3, understatement. Literal words, the presentation could have gone better. Literal interpretation, it was okay, but not great. Actual meaning, the presentation was a disaster. Clues, British and American speakers often understate negatives. Could have gone better means went badly.
Example 4, cultural reference. Someone says, well, this is like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. Literal interpretation, something about furniture on a ship. Actual meaning, doing pointless things while disaster looms. Cultural reference to the Titanic sinking. Clues, this is a common idiom. You need cultural knowledge to understand. How to develop inference skills? Strategy 1, watch content with cultural commentary or analysis. Reaction videos where people explain jokes and references. Strategy 2, pay attention to tone, not just words. Tone reveals sarcasm and true feeling. Strategy 3, learn common idioms and cultural references. These carry implicit meaning. Strategy 4, study context. Inference requires understanding the situation, relationships, and background. Strategy 5, don't assume directness. English speakers often communicate indirectly for politeness or humor. Let's practice inference. I'll give you a statement, and you figure out the implicit meaning. Statement, your cooking is interesting. What does it really mean? Probably, I don't like it, but I'm being polite. Statement, I suppose that's one way to do it. What does it really mean? Probably, that's not the right way, but I won't say it directly. Practice this with real content. When you hear something, ask yourself, what are they really saying? Think of language as an iceberg. The literal words are the 10% above water. The implicit meaning is the 90% below water. C1 listening means diving below the surface to understand the full message. Always ask, what's beneath these words? My Chinese student Wei was brilliant with vocabulary and grammar, but constantly missed sarcasm and implication. In meetings, when colleagues joked sarcastically about problems, Wei took them literally and got confused. We studied sarcasm markers, exaggerated tone, phrases like, oh, great, and just what I needed, and context clues. We watched sitcoms specifically to practice recognizing sarcasm. After a month, Wei started catching jokes in real time. His colleagues noticed he was laughing at appropriate times instead of looking confused. Understanding implicit meaning transformed his social integration at work. Sarcasm question. Do you struggle with recognizing sarcasm in English? Or can you usually tell when someone is being sarcastic versus literal? Share your experience in the comments. Implicit meaning is crucial for real comprehension. But there's one final strategy that ties everything together. Strategic practice methods. This is how you actually improve, not just consume content. The fifth and final C1 strategy is practicing strategically instead of passively consuming content. Most advanced learners just watch movies or listen to podcasts passively, hoping to improve. that's not enough. C1 listening requires active strategic practice. Passive exposure has diminishing returns. At beginner and intermediate levels, just listening helps a lot. At advanced levels, you need targeted practice that challenges specific weaknesses. Random passive listening won't push you from B2 to C1. Strategic, uncomfortable practice will. The biggest mistake is confusing entertainment with practice. Watching Netflix shows you enjoy is great for maintenance, but it won't push your boundaries. Another mistake is always practicing in your comfort zone, content that's easy for you. Growth happens outside your comfort zone. Let me show you the difference between passive and strategic practice. Passive practice, watching a familiar show with subtitles in your language. Listening to a podcast while doing other things, not fully focused. Always choosing content at your current level or below. Never checking comprehension or reviewing difficult parts. Consuming for entertainment, not improvement. Strategic practice. Watching new content without subtitles, then with English subtitles to check, then without again to confirm understanding. Active listening with full focus, taking notes on missed words or phrases. Deliberately choosing content slightly above your level. Using comprehension checks, summarizing what you heard, answering questions about it. Reviewing difficult sections multiple times to train your ear. Example 1. Movie practice. Passive. Watch entire movie with your language subtitles. Strategic. Watch a scene without subtitles. Summarize what you understood. Watch again with English subtitles, noting what you missed. Watch a third time without subtitles to confirm understanding. Example 2. Podcast practice. Passive. Listen while commuting, have focused. Strategic. Listen to a segment fully focused. Take notes. Pause and summarize each main point. Listen again at 1.25x speed to challenge yourself. Example 3. Conversation practice. Passive. Watch English speakers converse on YouTube. Strategic. Watch a conversation, predict what each person will say next, analyze turn-taking and interruption patterns, note phrases you want to learn.
Key strategic practice principles. Principle 1. Active engagement, not passive consumption. Take notes, pause, summarize, analyze. Principle 2. Discomfort equals growth. Choose content that challenges you, where you understand 60 to 80%, not 95%. Principle 3. Multiple passes. Listen once for gist, again for details, again for specific patterns. Principle 4. Focused practice sessions. 20 minutes of focused strategic practice beats 2 hours of passive watching. Principle 5. Track progress. Note what types of content or accents are getting easier. Measure improvement. Right now, commit to one strategic practice session this week. Choose content slightly above your level. Watch or listen with full focus, no distractions. Take notes on what you miss. Review difficult parts. Spend 20 to 30 minutes on just 10 minutes of content. Quality over quantity. Think of listening practice like physical training. You don't get stronger by lying on the couch watching exercise videos. You get stronger by actually exercising, pushing your limits, and recovering. Similarly, you don't improve listening by passively consuming. You improve by actively practicing, challenging yourself, and reviewing. My Spanish student Laura watched English TV shows for hours every day but stayed stuck at B2 listening for over a year. She couldn't understand why. The problem was passive consumption. She always watched with Spanish subtitles, never challenged herself, never reviewed difficult parts. I gave her a new routine. 30 minutes daily of strategic practice. Pick a YouTube video or podcast segment. Watch without subtitles. Summarize. Watch with English subtitles. Note new vocabulary and missed words. Watch again without subtitles. Within 3 months, she broke through to C1. Not because she practiced more hours, but because she practiced strategically. Final question. What percentage of your listening practice is passive entertainment versus active strategic practice? Be honest in the comments. Most people will say 90% passive, and that's why progress is slow.
You now have all 5 strategies for C1 listening comprehension. But before we finish, I need to warn you about 3 critical mistakes that will prevent these strategies from working. Now that you know the 5 C1 listening strategies, avoid these 3 mistakes that sabotage even good learners. Mistake number 1, expecting linear progress. Listening improvement is not linear. You'll have plateaus where nothing seems to improve for weeks, then sudden jumps where everything clicks. Don't get discouraged during plateaus. Keep practicing strategically, and the breakthrough will come. Many learners give up right before their breakthrough because progress seems stalled. Persistence through plateaus is what separates C1 achievers from B2 stayers. Mistake number 2, not addressing specific weaknesses. Don't just do general listening practice. Identify your specific weak points. Is it connected speech, accents, fast conversations, implicit meaning? Once identified, target that weakness specifically for 2 weeks. If British accents are hard, immerse in British content exclusively for 2 weeks. If sarcasm is hard, watch sitcoms with analysis. Generic practice maintains your level. Targeted practice breaks through barriers. Mistake number 3, giving up on content that's too hard. When content feels too difficult, most learners abandon it and go back to easier material. This is self-sabotage. The discomfort means you're in the growth zone. Instead of giving up, use strategic practice methods. Break it into smaller chunks. Listen multiple times. Use transcripts to check understanding. The content that's hardest for you now is exactly what will push you to C1 if you persist with proper strategies. Let's quickly recap the 5 essential strategies for mastering C1 listening comprehension. Strategy 1. Process connected speech and reductions. Learn how natives actually pronounce phrases. Master gonna, wanna, didja, and hundreds of other reduction patterns. Train your ear for real pronunciation, not textbook pronunciation. Strategy 2. Develop predictive listening. Don't process every word sequentially. Use context and patterns to anticipate what's coming. Fill in gaps through inference rather than trying to catch every word. Strategy 3. Build accent flexibility. Expose yourself to British, American, Australian, Irish, Scottish, Indian, and other English accents. Train your brain to understand English regardless of who's speaking. Strategy 4. Understand implicit meaning. Go beyond literal words to understand sarcasm, implication, understatement, and cultural references. Listen for what's beneath the surface. Strategy 5. Practice strategically. Active, focused, challenging practice for 20 to 30 minutes beats hours of passive entertainment. Push your boundaries systematically. Apply these 5 strategies consistently, and you'll reach C1 listening comprehension faster than you thought possible. You just learned the 5 strategies that separate C1 listeners from B2 listeners. These aren't theories. These are proven methods that advanced learners use to break through the listening barrier. Here's your action step. Pick one strategy to focus on this week. Comment below which strategy you're choosing and why. Accountability increases follow-through. If this video gave you a clear roadmap to C1 listening, instead of just vague advice to listen more, smash that like button and subscribe. Next week, I'm revealing the vocabulary learning method that's 10 times more effective than flashcards. You don't want to miss that. Remember, the gap between B2 and C1 listening is not about talent, it's about strategy. You now have the strategies. Go apply them. Stop being stuck at intermediate listening. Start mastering advanced comprehension. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, keep listening strategically, keep challenging yourself, and keep pushing towards C1 fluency. Let's master advanced English together.